In connection to the Makkah of Tzfardeya, the Medrash says, Afilu dvarim, even things that you see in the world that seem to be extra, unnecessary, like snakes and scorpions, they too are part of Hashem's creation. Hashem says to the Nevi'im, what do you think? If you're not going to go on my mission, I don't have any other shluchim to do my mission? I could do my mission even through a snake, even through a scorpion, even through a frog. And the proof, says the Medrash, because if not for the tzira is the name of a certain flying insect with which that had thrown a poison at the Goyim in Eretz Yisrael before the Yidden entered. So the Medrash says, if not for the tzira, how would Hashem punish the Emorim? And if not for the frogs, how would Hashem punish the Mitzrim, the Egyptians? So the Rebbe asks, how is it possible to say that if not for the frogs, how would Hashem punish the Egyptians? Number one, the frog is only one out of the 10 makkos. It's not even the harshest or worst one. Number two, of course, Hashem has many, many ways of how he could punish the Egyptians. So what does it mean if not for the frogs? Now, before this piece of the Medrash, before Rab Acha, we have that Rabbi Seinu Amrin, our sages, our Chachamim say, a very similar idea, that even those things that seem to be extra in the world, like zvuvim, parushim, yitushin, various different flies and fleas and gnats, they too are part of Hashem's creation. And then it continues with quoting and mentioning this Rab Acha that we just said. Now, when we learn this simply, it seems to be the difference between these two opinions are, or what each one is adding to the other, is Rabbi Seinu, our sages, say that even things that don't seem to have a benefit, really, they too Hashem created and there's nothing without a purpose. As the Gemara actually brings various examples of cures that we have from these flies and gnats, etc. Comes along Rabbi Acha and says that even things that are actually harmful and dangerous, like the snakes and scorpions, even they also have a benefit for man. The Rebbe quotes over here in the footnote from the Gemara how you have various different animals that are scared of things that are much smaller or less dangerous than them. So it seems like what the Rebbe is saying over here is that even certain harmful animals end up having a purpose, a benefit by protecting the person from various different dangers that would have been even greater dangers. Furthermore, says the Rebbe, the Medrash is saying, Rabbi Acha is saying, that Hashem actually fulfills certain shlichusim through these snakes and scorpions, like to punish the Rishoyim, etc. However, says the Rebbe, if this is the Chiddush of what Rabbi Acha is saying, we need to understand. In other words, if the point is that even these mazikim also have a benefit and Hashem fulfills missions through them, we need to understand. First of all, why is Rabbi Acha adding the tzfardeya, the frog? Seemingly this is not one of the harmful animals. Furthermore, Rabbi Acha is saying it as a chiddush. He says Hashem fulfills the mission through the snakes and scorpions and even through the frogs. And finally, the proof that the Medrash brings is not even about the snakes and scorpions. It brings a proof about the frogs. How would Hashem punish the Egyptians? Also, says the Rebbe, we need to understand why is the Medrash comparing the shlichus of the Nevi'im to that of the snakes and scorpions, etc. The shlichus of these mazikim, of these harmful and dangerous animals, is a shlichus of punishment. Whereas the shlichus of the Nevi'im is only to give over Hashem's words, not about punishing. So what does it mean if not for the Nevi'im, Hashem could do the shlichus in some other way? In order to understand this, the Rebbe prefaces first by saying that generally we know that the Makkos weren't just to punish the Egyptians in the simple sense of the word, but it was to get them to understand and to recognize and to admit that Hashem is the real, is the Eibishter. Now, since the klipa of Paroi and Mitzrayim is something very unique and different to other klipos, therefore there was something unique in how they had to be punished, which was achieved specifically through the frogs. In order to understand this, says the Rebbe, generally in the way the Goyim, various different Goyim, deny Hashem's existence or are koifer in Hashem's existence, generally there are three levels. There are those that admit that Hashem exists and Hashem is giving them their chayis, their life force. Hashem is their life force. Hashem has created them, etc. They call Hashem Elokad Elokai, that Hashem is one of many gods. That there's other gods as well. Hashem is the God of the gods. But nevertheless, they believe in Hashem, and therefore they don't rebel against Hashem. As Bilam said, I can't go against Hashem. We then have the level of Paroi, who Paroi claims, Li oiri v'ani asisini. I made my river belongs to me, and I created myself. Now, even though it says about him also that he calls Hashem Elokod Elokaya, but there what it means is that he agrees that yes, there could be something more powerful than himself. But what he's denying is that Hashem has anything to do with him. In other words, there could be a greater power, but totally irrelevant to him. He's completely not dependent on Hashem in any way. Finally, there are those that deny Hashem completely. The example over here brought us from Sancheriv, that completely went out there cursing Hashem, etc., etc., etc. Now, this seems to be the worst level, but nevertheless, says the Rebbe, that in a certain way, Paroi's level is worse. Why is that? So obviously, in the first level, the people that call Hashem Elokad Elokai, the God of the gods, they believe that Hashem is their chayis and they're not violating Hashem's will. They're admitting the existence of Hashem. Even this lowest level, the Sancheriv level, those that are opposing Hashem, denying Hashem's existence, nevertheless, the fact that they're fighting and opposing Hashem, that shows that godliness matters to them to a certain extent. That's why they're searching in an active way to fight it. In other words, from their opposition itself, they are publicizing, in a certain sense, the existence of Hashem. And then there's Paroi, who claims that his whole existence is just from himself. Godliness is not an issue at all, totally irrelevant. In other words, from him, not only isn't there any connection to Hashem in a positive way, but not even in a negative way, not even in a way of opposition. Because again, the fact that he calls Hashem Elokad Elokai is in a way that it's totally not relevant to him. He's not made by Hashem, he doesn't care about Hashem, etc. In other words, he feels himself completely as a separate entity for himself. Says the Rebbe, similar to these three levels amongst the Goyim, is also amongst the creatures in the world. Obviously, there's nothing, as we said before, that Hashem didn't create anything in vain. It's also obvious that Hashem created things with a purpose. The purpose is to reveal Elikus in the world, to reveal godliness in the world. When we look at each and every creature, we see the benefit of it, the purpose of it. This itself is revealing that there is a creator that made it, and this reveals godliness in the world. However, practically, there are things in the world that we don't see in a revealed way what they were created for, what's their purpose. And in this, we're now going to have three levels, similar to the three dargos of the Goyim. So the first opinion in the Medrash, the first thing that the Medrash says is, Rabbi Seinu Amrin, that even things that seem to be just extra, like the flies, etc., they have some sort of benefit. As mentioned before, the Gemara says that there's various different cures that could come from these different flies, etc. So through them is revealed the power of Hashem, that Hashem created them. Comes along Rabbi Acha and says that even things that are the opposite of a use, not only they don't seem to have any use, they're the opposite of a use, they're harmful. They're snakes and scorpions. They too are created by Hashem. They too are created part of adding to Hashem's glory. And similar to those goyim that are fighting against Hashem, similarly is these animals that are fighting against the creation, they're harmful and dangerous. Nevertheless, through the fact that they're fighting, that itself again is in a certain sense revealing Hashem. And this is what Hashem says to the Nevi'im: if you're not going to go on my mission, I'm going to send the Nochash and the Akav, the snake and the scorpion. In other words, which emphasize that even these things are in some way revealing Elikus, like Nevi'im reveal Elikus. And again, as said before, sometimes these animals will help be saved from another dangerous animal. So by seeing that, or by the fact that they're punishing the Rishoyim, all of this reveals that even these things that seem to be going against creation, the opposite of a benefit, they too are created by Hashem and revealing Hashem's power. As an exception to all of this is the frog, which seems to have no benefit whatsoever at all. Not in a positive way, and it's also not a harmful thing. It seems to not have in any sort of way that's revealing the creator that made it. And this is the chiddush where we say that Hashem says, I'll do my shlichus even through a frog. And this is the pshat where Hashem says that if not, the Medrash says, if not for the frog, how would Hashem punish the Egyptians? Meaning to say, we have Paroi and Mitzrayim over here again, people that are completely ignoring Hashem. They are not revealing Elikus in any way whatsoever, as we said before, not even fighting it. They just claim they're just there by themselves. How do we get that even they come to understand that Hashem is the only reality? This is revealed through the frog. Again, frog being similar to them, a metzius, an existence that's not noticeable at all in it, any sort of benefit, purpose, any sort of connection to Hashem, not even in the harmful way. And when the Egyptians see that even this frog is going on the mission of Hashem, and with such tremendous dedication and devotion that they're jumping into the fire. That itself breaks this special, unique klipa of Mitzrayim that claims Aniya Oiri, Liya Oiri, that the river belongs to me and I created myself, and instead it's revealed that even the Mitzrayim should know Ki Ani Hashem, that Hashem is the ultimate and only, absolute only existence.